Hello and welcome to the Tournament Center here at the World Championship. Marshall Sutcliffe with Randy Buehler, and we love this stuff. We're excited to watch Yuuya Watanabe draft. Let's take a look at the table though, kind of set the stage here for people at home to figure out where Yuuya was at. So Yuuya's over here on the corner. Randy, what are you seeing?
I'm still looking at Paulo, who we already saw draft the best deck of the format, right? The entire draft we just watched was what rare did Paulo take? Paulo passes the Whirler Rogue to Seth Manfield out of that very first pack. I hope that rare was good, because wow, did he hook up Seth Manfield with that blue deck.
Seth Manfield, we saw him draft a heavy blue deck, which indicates that Yuuya probably won't be getting too many good blue cards, and it's something, a little hint as we lead in.
Yeah, the other thing I'm interested in seeing here is, there's people are starting to whisper just a little bit that draft might be Yuuya's weak suit. I mean, not that he's actually weak at anything. I mean, he's probably the best player in Magic over the course of the last 3-4 years. It'd be hard to know who else you would make a case for. But Constructed is where he really makes his living. Yesterday, in fact, he made a pretty controversial first pick. He took Scatter the Seeds over Banefire.
He did.
Pick one, pack one in Modern Masters, forcing the green-white tokens archetype. So I want to see what he's up to in Origins. That should be
highly controversial. Yeah, all right, so why don't we take a look here at what Yuuya drafted. So again, I'm really curious to see how things shape up. Oh no. Did you see that, Randy?
No,
I
didn't.
Is that a Soulblade Djinn?
Really?
I think, yeah, he opens Soulblade,
goodness.
so he opens a blue card.
On
a
Seth
really
Manfield's
great
left.
blue card.
Wow. So
now, to set the stage here, we got to watch Seth Manfield, who picked up third pick Whirler Rogue, second pick Whirler Rogue, and then another one later in the draft. So, he got hooked up coming in this direction and planted his flag very hard in blue early on.
You have to Soulblade Djinn here, though.
You
right?
have to.
You could. That's Cruel Revival, right? Is the black card? You could take Cruel Revival. Black is a better color than blue in this format. I could imagine taking Cruel Revival. Is he looking at Deathbridge Shaman over a Cruel Revival?
Deathbridge Shaman? What? Oh.
I mean, that card's great. I'm a big fan.
Deathbridge Shaman?
It's 3/1. It's good. All right, it's not great.
That was a distant third out of those options.
Well, he can take another one.
Wow, Yuuya Watanabe first picks Deathbridge Shaman
over Cruel Revival and Soulblade
premium
Djinn.
removal and a bomb. All right, well, hang on, Randy. This could get crazy.
He's flicking between
a Timber Pack Wolf.
Isn't there a Wild Instincts in this pack?
Yeah, there is. If you're going to take a green card, it's Wild Instincts. But I assume if you're willing to first pick Deathbridge Shaman
you should second
over
pick
those cards, you also second pick it.
Which is what he did, right?
So Yuuya, he just has to be on top of the world, right? They're like, these guys are passing Deathbridge Shamans if he values it that highly. So I wonder if he's forcing elves here.
Well, that's why I think he was flicking the green cards back and forth, the Timberwatch and the Wild Instinct. It could be that he's forcing elves.
Now, he's got a third pick Fiery Impulse here, Randy. That is going to be very tough to
this is the pack that had the Whirler Rogue in it. So Seth first picked a Fiery Impulse, but then he wasn't going to take a second one over Whirler Rogue. Yuuya takes the Fiery Impulse. Third pick Fiery Impulse is absolutely a sign that red might be open. Now, if he looked, there was a rare missing and an uncommon missing from that pack, so you can get past the best common in the set if there's a rare missing and an uncommon missing while somebody on your right.
It's a strong data point at this point, right?
Yeah, okay, read the bones if you're forcing black. Fetid Imp is solid, but maybe not in an elf deck. All right, if he's black-red, he should be pretty aggressive, which is not where Fetid Imp is at its best.
No, I do think Fetid Imp is the best card in the pack, though Yuuya clearly has a game plan coming in. I
mean, Glory Chaser, if you're...
I don't even know why that Fairy Miscreant is... Okay, he takes a Fetid Imp. He had me scared there for a minute, I won't lie. But he takes a Fetid Imp. So, so far, heavy black, a little bit of red. His red card's very, very solid.
Way to the Underworld in black.
And there's a Nantuko Husk. Now, we know that he's a fan of Nantuko Husk. We watched him draft at the Pro Tour where he had 3 or 4 of those and kind of a deck entirely built around it.
Yeah, there's a Blightcaster in here, too, which he shuffled to the front. Thunderclap is a nice build around, but not for him. He's not in either of those
He's going to take the Husk. Yeah, the Blightcaster is a reasonable card, but it tends to go in the black-white archetype. And if he's leaning towards black-red, he's not going to want that card.
I mean, sometimes you can be black-X, but your black includes a couple Way to the Underworlds, and it's good enough. But Nantuko Husk is definitely the card that's the most synergy with black-red. And he kind of thinks red is open. Now here, Dragon Fodder is arguably the best card in the pack.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if he wants to stay in these 2 colors. Pharika's Disciple's a solid 4-drop in the format.
He's looking at
nothing
the elf
exciting. Gnarlroot Trapper, sure.
But I mean, it said no indication that green is remotely open. So dragon fodder, yeah. I mean, if I was Yuuya,
like
I
dragon
would
fodder.
think red was open here. Now, I mean, we know, having watched Seth, I mean, red's the right color you're supposed to be in.
I think it is your second color, yeah.
Demonic Pact?
Yeah, he stopped on Demonic Pact.
It's powerful.
You know, it's funny. I think I kind of dismissed that as too difficult to get rid of, but I've actually heard multiple pros tell me that they think it's legitimately good and limited.
I think it's legitimately good and limited. I agree with you.
Yeah, like,
I mean,
not just good, like very, very good. Like, they've
Well-
really hard sold me on the thing.
Yeah, you know what? One way to get rid of it, win the game.
It
Right.
does push
If your
you.
opponent scoops their cards up, you don't have to get rid of your Demonic Pact. You just get to
true.
shuffle it back in for the next game.
All right, so what does he find here? Well, this pack is not great. I mean, the best card is Charging Griffin here.
Takes the red card.
Yeah. All right, so he's kind of winding down the pack here. And, you know, he's not in a bad spot. He really isn't heavily in red here. He's got some decent black cards, and he can try to sort of solidify himself in black in the second pack.
What's his deck, though?
I'm still reeling from that pack one. Pick one.
Same.
I mean, he's prescient here because he was going to get cut so hard on blue. And do we know who's on his left, Randy? Do you remember? Whoever it is definitely took the Soul Blade Djinn, and it definitely is like, what happened here?
It's Martin Muller.
Is it Martin?
Yeah.
Oh, poor Martin. After the draft, I'm going to go look at Martin's deck, and I think I'm going to see a Soul Blade Djinn sitting idly in the sideboard.
Which is part of the reason why Seth continued to get hooked up in pack 2 if Martin had
Exactly.
to abandon red. And look, Yuya's got a decent set of colors here for his seat, I guess. But what's his deck? It's just a kind of
It's
trashy
super
black-red,
mediocre,
like
yeah.
mediocre aggro deck, right?
It's a mediocre aggro deck. That's what it is. And he's not picking up much late here either, which is pretty standard issue, but
He doesn't really have any of the temporary steel effect synergies that black-red can get. Like, black-red is supposed to be a sacrifice deck. And
it can be, yeah. That's what he drafted at the Pro Tour.
it's got
That
the
was
one Shaman, the one Nentuko Husk.
He had 4 enthralling victors
Two
at
Shamans,
the Pro
of
Tour.
course.
Oh, yeah.
How could I forget?
Yeah, how could you forget that?
Is black even open? Like, he first picks Shaman, and then it gets a Husk down the road.
It's not. It's not particularly open. It's you'd call it like average. It's in the middle. It's not like you feel like I'm definitely in the right lane for my seat. But at the same time, there's a few cards that he's picked up. Yeah, a pair of Cobble Brutes here.
Right. The Cobble Brutes are in the deck right now. This is not a great deck.
Yeah,
it has a Fiery Impulse is the only good card in this deck. Although apparently Dreadbridge Shaman is better than Cruel Revival.
Cruel Revival and Soul Blade Djinn.
Yeah, look, I can see taking a black card out of that pack over the Soul Blade Djinn if you really don't like blue, but isn't it Cruel Revival?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Full stop. It is Cruel Revival. That card is great. It can be a 2-for-1. It's always a 1-for-1.
The Shaman can be a 2-for-1.
It is basically always a 2-for-1. All right, so let's see what he opens up here. Maybe he changes his tack a little bit. I didn't see any great black cards here, though. There's a Possessed Scob at the back. He's pulled that up to the front now. Infectious Bloodlust, Thornbow Archer. Ugh, this pack's not great anyway. He might just want to speculate. I think the best card in the pack is probably Stalwart Avon floating around in the back, but he didn't take that latest Charging Griffin. I don't think he's interested in it at all.
Thornbow Archer. First pick,
What?
Thornbow Archer. Yuuya Watanabe, ladies and gentlemen. First pick, Thornbow Archer.
What just happened, Randy? He just took a Thornbow
He
Archer.
clearly values elves
He
more
can
than we
wheel
do.
that so easily. He can
Well,
get
not
his-
if there's not going to be one in that pack. It's already been drafted. Can't wheel it if
You've got
somebody
an
first
Unholy
picks
Hunger
it.
and a Priest of the Blood, right? Priest is clearly the pick here. So a nice gift here for Yuuya. This is going to help, bump the overall power level of his deck.
Yeah, also
up.
a Cruel Revival in this pack.
Yeah.
This is the
Oh.
pack we saw Seth get where it was like Cruel Revival and Unholy Hunger.
Oh, yeah.
And Seth actually takes the Dragon Fodder, which surprised me a little bit. I would have taken Cruel Revival in his seat, but his draft worked out way better than mine would have in that seat.
All right, so he takes Thornbow Archer, but then gets hooked up with a bomb rare here
Yeah.
with Priest of the Blood, right? So
And he totally cut black, right? He didn't pass, well, no, he passed the Cruel Revival in the first pick. But,
yes, he sent a
but with a Soul Blade
potential
Djinn.
signal down the line here. And it looks like he's being punished for it here, too. There's nothing great in this pack for him. I mean, he could take one of these red cards. Both of them are mediocre.
Yeah.
They're 2 drops. They probably both make the cut. Majoring Bully is a card I was pretty down on when the set came out. I've come around on it. I think you can put it in your red aggro decks and be pleased with it.
You have Scout higher, though?
I do have Scout higher, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just more consistent performer.
Yuuya agrees with you.
So again, I feel like he's trying to be like a hyper fast aggro deck.
Definitely.
I wonder if he wants
Fiery
to.
Conclusion.
Oh, there's Fiery Conclusion. That can be really good
Or
in there.
Fetid Imp. I would think Fiery Conclusion, he's clearly aggro. Like Fetid Imp's at its
He's already
best.
got a Dragon Fodder. Yeah.
Right. Fetid Imp's at its best if you're, in the blue-black deck or just something controlish. That
Yeah,
wants to
he
kind of
also found a
block.
card that makes Thornbow Archer playable here too. He's got the Fiery Conclusion. He's assembled the combo.
Oh, look, I feel like he takes a constructed approach to drafting these decks.
Okay.
He's not afraid to force a deck, right? He'll take first pick Scatter the Sheets over Banefire because he really wants to be in that green-white tokens archetype. He wants to force that. If you're playing black-red aggro, what you want a one-drop that deals two. Like Thornbow Archer is usually going to attack like a Jackal-Pup, right?
It's just when we talk about fundamental draft strategy, that doesn't come up, right? The idea of I'm just going to play the deck that I want and hope that it comes together just isn't. Long term, it doesn't work out that well. Sometimes you can hit it, right? Like sometimes you spike and you're like, oh, nobody else was in this deck, and my influence on taking the cards maybe helped me out a bit. But the times when it doesn't go well for you, it can be a disaster. Super risky to do that. Jeez, and Shrouding Mist still in this pack too.
Yeah.
It's just that ship
Hello,
has sailed.
Wizard.
Obviously,
he's
not.
just going to kill the Enshrouding Mist?
He might. I don't know. The third Cobble Brute doesn't have a real sheen
Well,
to
no, you
it.
take Bellow Lizards for your one slot. Like he's building a constructed at beatdown
Well,
deck, right? You got to get some ones.
Well, there is actually a deck that does that. I don't think it's one of the better ones, but you can play the Infectious Bloodlusts and the Call of the Full Moons, and you can be so hyper aggro. Remember, the removal in this format is not
Archer.
great. Another what? Another Archer?
Surely, if you're taking it first, is he going to take Consecrated by Blood?
Get those archers up in the sky. Yeah, there you go. Make some dragons.
Plus, he's already got an Archer.
Yeah, but that is a thing. You can go one drop, play an
Agreed.
enchantment on it, and get in for 6 or 9 damage, and try to get them close enough to being dead that you can use burn spells like Chandra's Fury or
Fiery Conclusion.
Fiery Conclusion to end things. I mean, Conclusion only hits creatures, but
Clears the path, but yeah. Another sidearm.
yeah, Veteran Sidearm, I guess, is the pick for him here. This is the later part of the pack, obviously, so nothing super exciting.
Although this is where your trashy black-red aggro deck is supposed to make its living.
That is true.
It's late in the pack where
Yeah,
you
no,
want
it's true.
cards that nobody else
This
wants.
is where you're supposed to pick up your Thornbow Archers, for example.
Or your Infectious Bloodlusts or
Yeah.
whatever. And there's not a whole lot.
And there was one.
Oh,
So,
on cue.
okay. Now I can start to see, that there could be at least an archetype hiding for him here where 1-drop into 2-drop enchantment to start beating down really does punish mulligans. It punishes slow decks. It punishes decks that have slow removal like, Unholy Hungers and Cruel Revivals and stuff. There's another one, Infernal Scarring.
Yep,
So,
yep.
okay, Yuuya.
Yeah. Now,
Piecing it together here.
I agree. And I mean, obviously, we've hit on a couple of his picks that we weren't in love with, but what's the deck he's supposed to be in that would actually be better than this? Like, it's not like a good deck has gone through his hands. There was a Soulblade Djinn, but blue would not have worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't know that there was going to be a Whirler Rogue pass from Paolo to Seth on his right, but in fact, that's what happened, and the blue was totally not there, right? He hasn't really held good green cards. There's no elf deck available.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't held much in the way of white cards.
I mean, there's been some surprisingly late white cards, but not a volume of them.
And not the great ones.
No. I mean, a Shrouding Mist, we saw the...
Right, one late and Shrouding Mist is kind of what we've seen.
Well,
so
and there was also a Charging Griffin that was like, oh, why are you here? I mean, he first picked it, like, in a different draft.
All I'm going to say is I think Black-Red aggro might actually be the right deck for the seat. Now, maybe you should have Cruel Revival over a Shaman, and I'm still not in love with the first pick Thornbow Archer, but Black-Red might actually be the right colors.
Well, let's hope it is for him. We're taking a look at how the deck is playing out here, and he does have a very low mana curve, which
Right.
is what you want in this sort of all-in type deck.
Right, if you clear a path for Cobble Brute, like, if you have enough removal to clear a path for Cobble Brute, the guy does hit pretty hard.
It does.
Yeah, this is high power to toughness ratio, low curve, removal spells. Oh, it's 2 Infectious Bloodlust
Two Infectious
already.
Bloodlust, the Fiery Conclusion.
I'm in.
You want him to just...
I'm in. I'm happy to watch this thing come together. It's coming together. It looked much better there than I was expecting. And I feel like
Well,
he
you
had
said
a plan
he's
the whole
supposed
time.
to pick up these cards late, right?
Yeah,
and
he
he
did.
actually did. Yeah, he picked up an Infectious Bloodlust and an Infernal Scarring in the last 4 or 5 picks of the draft there. And those are part of this archetype. They are a thing. Like I said, I think the flaw here is that this archetype isn't great. It's not like, oh, they had that
Well, I actually
deck.
I think he started out thinking elves, which is
I
why
do
the
too.
shaman was such a high
I do
pick,
too.
and the green was just totally not there.
All right, he's got some interesting choices here.
Tragic arrogance.
Yeah,
is
he's
the
not going to be
rare.
able to take that, but he's got
Enthralling Victor.
Yeah, there's also a lightning javelin floating around in this pack as well. So he's got some
Shambling
options.
Ghoul at the front. Isn't this just enthralling Victor?
I actually like a Shambling Ghoul out of here. I've never really been that enthralled by Victor, so I think that he's okay. I know that Yuuya values that card very highly. We saw him take it, pretty high. He already does have one Nantuko Husk as
Shambling
well.
Ghoul. That Pro Tour deck we talked about, didn't he 1-2 with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked great when it came together. It was like 4 enthralling Victors and 3 Nantuko Husks or something.
correct, yeah.
Bunch of active treasons, but he 1-2'd.
There was another there's a Gnarlroot Trapper as a 1-drop if he's in the business.
That's it. What else is in this pack?
Maybe an Angelic Tomb for him. I don't know what his creature count is at right now. He'll have a better idea of that, but that is the kind of thing that does get you in for damage. It is a very all-in type card once again where, well, I mean, basically it can't block ever.
Yeah.
So it really does reward you being
the Undercity Troll's
hyper-aggressive.
the best card in the pack.
Yeah,
but
not
Not
close.
in his color. I think he's thinking about just killing it.
I think
Is
he's
he
going to
gonna
take the tomb. Oh,
There
he
we
took
go.
the tomb. He slow rolled us there a little, didn't he? Yeah, so he picks up an Angel's Tomb, which is just okay. Ooh, Gearper Gearcrafter, that's business. All right, so he finally picked up a card, in a reasonable time spot. This packs have not been kind to him.
No, not really.
Like you said, we were critical of a few of his early picks, but to be fair to Yuuya, it has not been overly clear where he should go, and he hasn't gotten, hooked up very well. So he's really trying to cobble together a deck out of this seat that I think is. I don't think there's many people that would have a great deck out of this seat anyway.
Agreed. There are people who would have Trainwreck blue decks.
Yes. That would have taken too long to figure it out.
Yeah, there's people who would have a Cruel Revival.
There's a Shambling Ghoul.
Yeah.
Now, that's a good pickup for him here, too.
Sure.
So back-to-back solid pickups for him. Again, nothing remarkable, but these are the type of card that he wants to see right now. He wants to fill out that early part of the curve and that he can use to push through damage.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you don't have the bombs. You just want to end the game quickly.
Yeah,
Like,
he
you want
only
to
has one bomb.
punish their hiccups, come out with a curve, hit as hard as you can, as fast as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, he is going to need to draw that Priest of the Bloodright, though, to put away some of the more higher-powered decks that are going to be floating around in this pod.
Fuck, Cobble Brute, kill your blocker. You win games that way.
You can.
Lightning Javelin here, I would
Yeah,
think.
there's a Bully, a Javelin in this pack. There's also a Rabid Bloodsucker, which
Yeah.
is a 5-drop that he could play in a
He
deck
took Bully
like this.
over Javelin. That's interesting.
Yeah, he must be aware that his 2-drop slot is not
Yep.
fully fleshed out yet, and that's so critical for a deck like this.
Yep.
Also, Bully's a nice target for the
Infectious
enchantments.
Bloodlust?
Yeah, it gets a trigger right
Infernal
away.
Scarring, what does it hit for? Like 17?
It's 17, yeah. Ran the numbers. Let's see what he comes up with out of this pack.
He doesn't have enough goblins for Pile Driver, right?
No.
Just take Chandra's Fury.
I like the Chandra's Fury. I mean, we were talking about
Yeah,
it.
the Chandra's Fury seems
You play
nice.
the 1-drop, you play the 2-drop enchantment, you get in for 9. Maybe your Cobble Root hits once, and you just need something to finish
Yeah.
them off, and that does it.
It's even a prowess trigger.
Yeah, it also has the random upside of killing Thopter tokens, which pop up pretty frequently in this
Agreed.
format. I don't usually main deck Chandra's Fury just because, but
You
in a
wouldn't
deck like
misdeck.
this, I would absolutely, yeah.
Glory Chaser, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
How high's the grade crawling? I hear you talking yourself into this deck. I was in at the Pack 2 review.
So what I've done
You sound
is-
like you're talking yourself into it too.
So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, the deck he wants is coming together,
Yes.
and it does seem like he's found a slot to be in.
Sure.
But I've put a cap on it because the deck that he
the
wanted
deck tops out
isn't
at
that
like
great.
B+.
Yeah, like
there are no A
if he
versions.
just stumbles
Look at the
on
late
his
dragon
curve,
fodder.
yeah. There's another Infectious Bloodlust too.
Oh wow, do you need Bloodlust number 3? Like
The
if you're
third
in,
Bloodlust is very good. Yeah.
yes, Bloodlust number 3.
Yeah, number
Love
4
it.
it starts to fall off, but 3 is great.
Dragon Fodder's pretty good too. Yeah, I like it. Bloodlust, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah.
So, what's the grade on the deck? Like maybe the archetype tops out at B+. There are no A versions of this archetype.
Yeah.
I think I hear you saying. But has he gotten up to B-?
No.
Still a C.
C plus range.
You had a failing
Look,
grade.
he did salvage the deck, which is impressive.
You had him at a D coming out of pack one, and he's crawled his way up to C plus.
Yeah, like
Agreed.
I was really nervous for Yuuya coming out of the first
Agreed.
pack. But now I do think he salvaged this. And, it's interesting, looking at it from Yuuya's perspective as well, because he's one of the best players in the world, and he can find wins and put together lines with any type of deck, and he's going to be able to do that with here. The Yuuya factor matters in a big way.
No, it's true.
Flame Shadow Conjuring, not what he's looking for here. But there's a Rabid Bloodsucker, and if he
imagine
does find a room,
curve.
we were talking about the reach aspect of being able to fire off that chunk of damage, and that thing does it. It does close out a game. It's obviously not an amazing card, but it does close out a game. All right, well, the second one's not quite as important as the first one, which might or might not make the cut for Yuuya. But he certainly has enough playables.
He's got a plan.
The deck came together on some level, right? It's unclear exactly how powerful the deck will be, but the advantage of a deck like this, very assertive, punishes slow draws, punishes mulligans, and is quite consistent. I mean, these decks usually will put out a threat on turn 1 or 2, and they will make it big, and they'll put the hammer down pretty quickly.
And look, the way this tournament works, it's not like he needs to 3-0. Right, he comes in 5-2 overnight. 2-1 here, he's in great shape headed into Standard. And even a 1-2 still leaves him live for top 4.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for our draft viewer there with Yuuya Watanabe signing off from the Tournament Center.